Welcome to the Wayne Bennett podcast, celebrating West Virginia's people, places, and the culture of Southern Appalachia. Now here's your host, Wayne Bennett.
Hello, this is Wayne Bennett, and welcome to the Easy Come, Easy Go broadcast. This is our second show, and I want to tell you a little bit about how this thing started. We got the name when I was in high school. My senior year, they were asking us to put a statement or a comment underneath our picture, and I really didn't know what to put. And an old guy, I think his name was Ed Talbert, he was a classmate of mine, and he said, "What's the problem?" And I said, "I can't think of anything to put. I don't want to put something stupid." And he looked at me and he said, "Easy come, easy go." And that's what I put, and it's, if you look in the 1968 annual of Woodrow Wilson High School, that's what it says underneath my name. So that's how we got the name, and we didn't realize afterwards there were several other podcasts around. I forgot about the Elvis Presley movie called Easy Come, Easy Go, and there are several other podcasts called that. So if you want to, you figured out obviously a way to get on there, but if the easiest way is to Google Easy Come, Easy Go podcast by Wayne Bennett, and hopefully it will get you to us. I'm joined today with my wife, Diane, and we're not too tech savvy, but she's a lot better than I am, and so please bear with us. Our plans is by Wednesday every week we will come out with a 30-minute show, and it will involve local music, arts like writing, painting, festivals, local people. Everybody has a story. We will have some sports. Of course, I'm an old coach, so we're going to talk some sports down the road. The main thing, we're going to celebrate local people. If you have an idea, email me at awbennett, small letters, 50@gmail.com. Or if you have an idea for a program, we'd like to listen to you. Maybe you want to be on it. awbennett50@gmail.com. I hope everyone had a nice Valentine's Day yesterday. And I know we did. Valentine's Day has been around for a long time. I think it was Geoffrey Chaucer who wrote Canterbury Tales in the 1300s. And the first time he ever, it was the first record of Valentine's Day. And of course, we know that it was named after St. Valentine's, but I think there were 2 or 3 of them, and I think they all were beheaded at some time or another, but I don't think that was the reason we celebrate. But then the record shows that in the 1400s, the first Valentine that was ever sent was sent by Charles, who was the Duke of Orleans at that time, and he was actually in prison, and he sent a Valentine to his wife. He was in prison when he was captured in a certain battle, and so that's how the whole thing, and actually that Valentine is in a museum somewhere in London, and so that's kind of how things got started. Now it's, one of the most celebrated holidays we have, and however you celebrate it, with cards or music or gifts or candy, whatever was your choice. Diane and I, the way we celebrated Valentine's Day, me forever being the romantic, I thought nothing was better than breakfast in bed. So that was the beginning of our Valentine's Day.
Yeah, that chicken sandwich from McDonald's really hit the spot. Topped off by a large glass of water. Oh, boy.
Don't forget the fruit.
Oh, yeah. I almost forgot about the fruit because the box of raisins was really special. The reason I almost forgot it was because you ate most of them yourself.
Yeah, I like raisins, and then also, now I had that card. I spent hours at CVS and Walmart and the gift card shop and looking and reading, trying to pick out the right card to say exactly how I felt. And I finally, after 7 or 8 hours, I finally found the card that made it very special.
I didn't even know Dollar Tree sold Hallmark cards.
Oh, they do, and I got two for the price of one. So next year is covered as well. And even though the card said everything I wanted to say, I wanted to write a special note to make it a little more personal.
Well, love ya is really personal.
Thank you. Well, of course, Valentine's Day wouldn't be Valentine's Day without flowers, and so I got you. I know that what type of cut flowers that you like, and so I made a special effort to get you those flowers.
Well, they kind of look like they came from the flowers that our son John got me for my birthday last month.
Well, they were, but I took the three best ones. The rest of them were kind of dried out, and so I put the three best ones. I took them out, and because I know that you really love those, so I wanted to spread the love a little more. But I did put them in a different bud vase.
Oh yeah, those mason jars, they sure do make good bud vases.
After we got settled for after breakfast and the cards and the flowers, and we went on a trip to decided to go to Little Beaver Park. That was actually where Diana and I had our first date, even though it was in the summertime. The winter time at Little Beaver is really nice. The snow was just like a winter wonderland, and it was really beautiful out there. And we stayed there quite a while, and it was really a nice trip to Little Beaver.
Yeah, I actually was having a good time until you backed into that ditch, and I had to get out and push. It reminded me of when we were dating.
Yeah, I used to have I had a 61 Mercury Comet and car, and it was blue, and it had baby moons on it. Those are hubcaps, and it had shackles in the back, raised it up in the back, and I actually had given my car a name. It had Midnight Mover painted on the side of it. A guy from East Beckley, Billy Aliff, he painted it on there for me. And back then, everybody kind of named their cars, and mine was named Midnight Mover after the song Wilson Pickett had, and it was kind of funny. I would go down the road where the street I lived on, and kind of go slow, and a lot of little kids would run out, and there goes the mover, there goes the mover, and it was kind of special. But the problem was the car the starter on it was kind of messed up, and so everywhere we went we had to park on a hill to pop the clutch and start it, or some type of slanted property, or Diane had to push, and I think that was one of the reasons I really became attached to her. She was really a good pusher. But well, after you got me out of the ditch there yesterday at Little Beaver, I decided, this things are going pretty good, and so I decided to go back to the last restaurant that we had been to together, and I thought that would be kind of romantic, and but when we got there, it was closed.
Well, the sign said it closed in the year 2000, so that says a lot about how often we eat out.
Yeah, I thought it was like a few months ago, but year 2000. But at least I had a plan B.
Yeah, you bought me 2 Slim Jims and a Diet Dr. Pepper from the convenience store up the street.
Yeah, I got me I was going to do it upright since it was Valentine's Day, and so instead of getting a 6-pack of Natural Light, the cheaper stuff, I went ahead and splurged a little bit and got me a 6-pack of Bud Light, really putting on the Ritz there a little bit. I actually looked for some wine that we might like, but they don't make Boone's Farm or Sweet Lucy or Mad Dog 2020, or I couldn't find any. And so that's what we had to settle for. But when we got when we got back home, I thought, things are going pretty good, and so I was going to decide, let's watch a couple good Valentine's Day movies.
Yeah, well, I don't think Silence of the Lambs and St. Valentine's Day Massacre are considered romantic movies.
Well, there's a lot of red in it. Now, you got to admit that. There was a lot of red in those movies, and I kind of liked it. But, what's Valentine's Day without a romantic song, and that? So to set the mood, so that's when I decided, let's play some music.
Well, old Weird Al Yankovic sure knows how to set the mood.
Yeah, he's something else. I tell you, then I know how much you like chocolate, and so I decided that I would give you some chocolate, and so I didn't just want to get any kind of chocolate.
Well, Wayne, 3 Hershey Kisses that we have had since way before Christmas that have been so old that the foil is stuck to them. Well, in order to eat them, you would have had to chew through the foil too.
Yeah, it was kind of fun though, pulling the aluminum foil out of your teeth and stuff, and it did kind of help clean your teeth. But after we had the music and the movies and the chocolate, and I thought it'd be a great idea. Let's just get on the sofa and climb underneath the blanket and watch some TV, and that's the way we would end the day and go to sleep.
A 24-hour marathon of Shark Tank? Well, that certainly did not do the trick. I fell sound asleep immediately. Or maybe it did do the trick, because I did fall asleep immediately.
Well, it was a good day, though. We got to spend time with each other.
And that's what it's all about. Really, the best part was spending time together. And after all, that's, Valentine's Day is to spend time with someone or something that you love. It might be your partner. It might be your friends or your family. Well, it can even be your cat or your dog.
One of the things that I mentioned in the first show that this podcast is, we're not going to deal with negatives. We're not going to argue. We're not going to argue politics or religion. Everything we're going to do is talk about positive things. And one of the things I've been really blessed with is I've always got to learn. And sometimes, they say if you quit learning, then you might as well be gone. And sometimes learning can be hurtful. Give you an example. When I was a kid, and I was about 11 or 12 years old, there was an old fella down the road from me. His name was Brady Persinger. And he had a double-car garage behind his house, and he worked on cars and trucks that people brought in. He didn't have a real official business. He just kind of did it on the side. And he must have been pretty good because he always stayed pretty busy. And us boys, we'd go down there and hang around all the time. And he was a gentle old soul. He liked to have company and talk and do different things. And he's pretty jovial fella. And we liked to hang around there. And we learned a little bit about cars. And that's back when cars had spark plugs and carburetors and things like that. But one particular day, he was working on a car, and I was down there with him, and he was on one side, had the hood up, and was bent over, had the motor running, and he was trying to get this car tuned up, and I was on the other side, leaned over the fender, watching what he was doing, and he pulled the spark plug wire off, and he said, Wayne, reach down here and grab that spark plug and see if it's got any power. And so without thinking, I reached down there and grabbed that spark plug, and man alive, I never felt anything like that before. I mean, a jolt of electricity went through me, went all the way down to my feet, and I jumped back off of there. Well, he started dying laughing. He thought that was the funniest thing in the world, and I mean, I got pale. And and kind of got mad about it. So I left, and he was laughing the whole time I went up the road. And so it was about a week before I went back down there, but finally I kind of eased my way back down. When I walked into the garage, he said, "I bet you're not going to grab any more spark plugs, are you?" And I said, "No, sir." And here I am now, almost 71 years old, and I've never grabbed another spark plug when the motor was running. And so I learned, and it was kind of the hard way, but he was the teacher that day. And another situation that I had, I know a lot of you have heard of Jerome Van Meter, the Gray Eagle. He's the one responsible for Beckley being called the City of Champions. I think he had 3 state football championships and 6 basketball, plus a lot of other successful teams. And he had already retired from coaching when I got older, and he was actually the principal at Beckley Junior High when I got there in the 9th grade. Now, I had gone to Sylvia School in grades 1 through 8, and only went to Beckley Junior High 1 year. And I actually delivered papers to Jerome Van Meter on Johnstown Road, he and his wife, and I delivered the morning paper for a couple of years, actually, before I got into the 9th grade. But I don't really think he ever really knew me, because a lot of times, the only time they'd ever see me was when I would collect on Fridays or Saturdays, and a lot of times his wife paid me, and so I never actually got to see him. So I'm really not sure that he knew who I was. But in the 9th grade, I had a little skirmish with another boy, and it wasn't exactly a fight. It was just kind of a pushing thing, and a teacher had witnessed it and must have turned our name in, and I got called to the office. Well, I'll tell you what, Beckley Junior High at that time, they had about 900 students, and Van Meter was the principal. Boyd Humphrey, I think, was guidance counselor or assistant principal, and they were 2 tough guys, and you had to be tough in a school that big. And back then, they still paddled. I got 1 paddling in grades 1 through 8, and it wasn't really that big a deal, but they still paddled all the way up. Even in some situations in high school, they still paddled. But I got called into the office, and I kind of went in there nonchalantly, because I thought, well, he would recognize me when we go in, and I'd tell him the story. And we didn't actually get into a fight, and must have called the other boy in at a separate time. And so we sit down. He asked me a few questions, and I answered them honestly. And then at the end, he said, "Well, we're not going to have any more problems, are we?" And I said, "No." I said, "As far as I'm concerned, it's over." And here I was just kind of assuming that it was a done deal. Well, then he reached down, he pulled a big old paddle out of his top drawer, and he said, "Well, bend over here. I'm going to give you 3 good swats and make sure that this doesn't happen again." Well, even then, I thought the guy was kind of joking. I mean, he was 63, 64 years old, still pretty good shape, but I thought he was just kind of joking, because, I thought we'd ironed everything out. So I reached over and grabbed the edge of the desk, and man, he lit me up, boy. I mean, he gave me 3 swats that hurt. I mean, I couldn't even hardly walk. I was about, tears was in my eyes. I walked out of there, and I mean, it hurt. And of course, it didn't have any more trouble out of me. But so I was just kind of, I guess I learned not to be presumptuous or assuming, because sometimes you're going to be wrong. And so that was another lesson that was kind of painful. But now, as a postscript to that, Van Meter retired. I might have been one of the last whippings or paddlings he gave, because he retired not too long after that, and he actually started teaching a class at Beckley College. And first year of Beckley College, I had to have an elective, and so I took political science. Now, I'd been involved in politics a little bit. I kind of had an aspiration to be in politics, but not be a candidate, be behind the scenes. And so I was working for a guy named Howie Wells. He was a doctor, and he was running for Congress, United States Congress, against James Key. Key had been in office for quite a while, and Howie Wells had been involved in the research for black lung with Dr. Rasmussen, and he was a very educated, nice-looking guy, kind of a John F. Kennedy protege type person. And so anyway, I was working in his campaign, and very, very active. And I learned a lot about politics at that time. But taking the class from Van Meter, and he was an excellent teacher. He was a very conservative teacher, but he was, as far as politics, but he was an excellent teacher. We had a full class, and we had a classroom it was an annex behind the main building at the old Beckley College. And so we would go down the steps into the room, and there was another room beside of us. And the class was full. I mean, there was at least 30 students in that class. And normally we would come in and sit down. Van Meter would come in. He carried a big duffel bag of books, and he would set them on his desk, and then he'd walk back outside and talk to the teacher in the room beside of us until class started. Now, this guy demanded a lot of respect. I mean, even as college students, just the way he carried himself, the way he spoke and everything. And not only did we respect him, but a lot of people feared him. And one particular day, I had a badge. Back in the old days, the politicians would give out these metal badges with pins, and we could wear them on your chest. And I had a badge, and it was about a 3-inch, it was a pretty good sized badge, and it said Wells for Congress. And so when he came in and put that bag on the desk and went back outside, I stuck that badge on his bag facing the students. And so everybody saw me do it except him. And so when he came in, everybody was real quiet. And he was getting the books out of his bag, and he saw that badge. And he turned to the class and he said, "Who put this badge on my bag?" And man, I mean, you could have heard a pin drop. It got real quiet. And he's got a little louder. He said, "Who put this badge on my bag?" Well, I didn't want to get nobody else in trouble or anything, and I raised my hand kind of gently, and I said, "I did." And he looked at me and he said, "I'd vote for him if I was a Democrat, but I'm a Republican, and I can't vote in the primary for him." Well, man, I mean, it was just like easy breathing after that. I'd been kind of scared something was going to happen, and he kind of made light of it. And so after class, everybody was leaving, and he called me over, and we talked a little bit, and he said, "You used to deliver papers to me, didn't you?" And I said, "Yeah, about 4 years." And then I kind of told him about the situation in Beckley Junior High. He couldn't remember that. He knew that he'd had to deal with a lot of kids over the time. He couldn't even remember it happened. But we kind of laughed about it. And I said, "I learned a lot. Not to be presumptuous, not to assume anything." And he said, "Well, at least you learned." And after that, we had a good relationship. And the guy lived to be 102 years old, and he was really something else. But again, every day we got to learn something, and that makes good for me, and I know it would make something good for you. And let's keep it up. But that. Keep in mind, if you want to get in contact with us, it's awbennett50@gmail.com, and you may want to be on the show. You may have some suggestions. whatever the case, we'd love to hear from you. Until that time, remember, if you ain't dead yet, you ain't done yet. Until next time.